Hello and welcome to Making It Manufacturing Spotlight Series, live here in New York at the DCAT conference. I have the pleasure of being joined by Joon Chang today in their suite overlooking a beautiful view of New York. Joon, how are you today?
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, today was a little bit
stunning.
chilly, but the sun definitely helps.
This is a personal favourite suite of mine, I'm not going to lie. It's beautiful.
Very good.
Joon, for our listeners who may be less familiar, how would you describe Lotte Biologics today and the role it's aiming to play in the market?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, Lotte Biologics is a relatively newer entrant into the CDMO landscape. We started about 3 years ago. It is part of the grander Lotte conglomerate, which is the top 5 conglomerate within South Korea. And from the group perspective, the Lotte Biologics will definitely be the next growth engine. And so they were able to invest about $1.5 billion, and they acquired the site in Syracuse, New York, which used to be the BMS site.
Yeah.
And so we are accelerating our journey to become one of the top CDMOs in the world.
Wow.
Our primary focus is actually in the biologics, but we also have the conjugation capability in the Syracuse. So it's a very sweet spot where we have 8 units of the 5,000 liter stainless steel. You don't have a lot of that in the United States, right? And then also we have the conjugation. So we have the capability to do the drug substance, but also drug substance intermediate, and then the conjugation for our partners.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're certainly one of the newer entrants, like I said, but we're making some good headways. During DCAT, we had some very good engagements. And hopefully by this time during the podcast, there's going to be some announcement that you're going to see in terms of our partnerships.
Amazing. Stay tuned for that, definitely.
Yep.
So you just mentioned, you're fairly new to the market, 3 years in. You've got a great amount of investment and there's a lot of potential success to be had. What would you say some of the biggest challenges are then, with just coming into the market and looking to become one of those big players?
Yeah. Many of our conversations geared towards some of the clients saying, oh, we haven't heard about you guys. And that's definitely fair, right? And that immediately after that follows, oh, okay, what is your track record, right? And so the biggest challenge I would say is the fact that Lotte is building up the momentum and the track record.
Yeah.
Right. So the way conversations steer toward is the company itself is quite new.
Yeah.
Right. But the Syracuse site has a long history, decades of history of manufacturing commercial products for BMS. Right. And we were able to retain about 95% of those talents. So all of the expertise is already there.
Yeah.
But we're supplementing that with some of the experts in the ADC field as well as the CDMO expertise. And my conversation with the client often also goes into the direction of, at the end of the day, it's the people that does the work, that actually do the work, right? So whether it's the tech transfer, process development, operations, and manufacturing, and the collective expertise and the number of experience for Lotte Biologics is actually equal or better than some of the CDMO players out there.
Yeah.
So we definitely recognize that as a company, the track record is building up.
Yeah.
But the expertise and the track record of the talent that we have is very impressive.
So how important is that then? Everything kind of from now on is kind of getting new business development. You're not looking after and expanding key accounts as a new player. How important is it then to start building those relationships with those companies?
That's right. It's absolutely important. So, we talk with obviously the big pharmas and the biotechs as well. And each player has their own unique needs and challenges. And the way we are approaching to them is we acknowledge those specific needs and we cater to those specific needs. And so we recognize that, we want to be as flexible as possible based on those specific needs.
Because you have a dual hub model across the US and Korea. How do you feel that benefits your customers?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. So I think the focus here is actually also on the scale as well. The Syracuse site, like I mentioned, is 5,000 liters stainless steel, which is the sweet spot.
Yeah.
The 5,000 liter is a sweet spot because it is sufficiently big enough to supply for commercial, but is not as burdensome as 10K or 15K. And so it's appropriate for phase 3 PPQ, and then sort of launching at the U.S. And because it is in the U.S., from the geopolitical perspective, it does add more stability in that regard. The Songdo site, we have 8 units of the 15,000 liters, also stainless steel. And the way we manage both sites, as you mentioned, is a dual site strategy. It's under the same quality system, same PM, same methodology, same governance.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the partners that we talk to, they're very interested to launch after phase 3 and the PPQ at the 5K in Syracuse. And then as they see the demand increasing, we could do an internal tech transfer to the Songdo 15K. And then it's under the same quality umbrella, same PM system. And so from those viewpoint, it is quite advantageous for them to consider both dual sites.
Yeah, and does that also add value to kind of speed in which you're able to help them with?
Absolutely, yeah, because it's the same quality system, same SOPs and MBRs. Of course, there are some site specifics, but once the client is dedicated to those dual hub strategy, we actually start doing the internal tech transfer as soon as possible, so that the Songdo site is warm and ready to get that product into the 15K.
Yeah, which is a massive benefit for the clients.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant.
So actually, one thing that I do want to add is some of the players are also interested because the 15K certainly adds huge value from the cost of goods perspective because it is a larger scale, right? It from the dollar per gram is more advantageous. So some clients are considering manufacturing the MAB in Songdo 15K, and then shipping it to Syracuse for the conjugation.
Okay.
As you know, obviously the ADC is quite hot right now, so that is a good strategy that they're thinking about. And also Korea being one of the key allies of US certainly helps in that regard.
So, we've learned a lot about Lotte. A little bit on yourself. Can you start by just walking us through your journey into the biopharma and CDMO space?
Yeah. So before my tenure in Lotte, I did work with another reputable CDMO, Samsung Biologics, which is great. I was part of the growth journey in Samsung. I also worked for a China company, Innovent, their CDMO wing, which is Ultras Biologics, which is fantastic. But I actually started my career as like a bench scientist in the preclinical area. I graduated from UC San Diego. Right across the street, there was a Genomics Novartis Foundation, which is the R&D wing of Novartis. And then I also worked for Allergan before the AbbVie acquisition. So, my career has been sort of starting from the pharma, worked at a biotech a little bit, and then going to the CDMO. And that allowed me to really understand on the both sides of the game, right? You understand from the pharma how precious your asset is, right? I mean, your company rides on this, right? And also for the scientist who's worked on the preclin, the development discovery, this is like your baby, right?
Yeah.
And so when I moved on to the CDMO, it allowed me to really appreciate how important it is to select the right partner.
Yeah.
Right? Can you work together? Will the CDMO brush us to the side, or will they take this asset and consider it as precious as we consider it, right? And so that really allowed me to understand the client mindset, and I think that's a huge asset. I also worked about 6 years as a project manager, managing all of the client relationships, the tech transfers, and I think the PM sometimes it's not as glorified as like a BD, right? I mean, we're here, it's very fancy, but the PM is grinding.
Yeah.
You're there where the rubber meets the road, going through all of the issues, and as a PM for a CDMO, you have to have the difficult conversation with the client, right?
Course.
But also retain that relationship, right? And that's why I feel that as a PM, I was able to take that pharma mindset and the ownership mindset. Like, this is my project. Even though it's a client, this is my project.
Yeah.
I am invested in the success. And with that mindset, as I transitioned into the BD, I was able to really understand the full breadth of the life cycle, right? And I'm looking at the end, the BLA, the SBLA approval, and then the life cycle, and how does that impact my relationship and my message to my potential clients. And you asked Harry about my philosophy when it comes to leadership, and as well as the sales organization. So I cascade that philosophy down to my team.
Okay.
right? In addition, what I also love about Lotte is we're trying to create a culture. Like I said, this is a relatively new organization, and we have the flexibility to really create a culture that is ideal. I've been in many different organizations.
Yeah.
Some of the leadership in my organization also came from different organizations. And so our prerogative is to take the best of those organizations culturally and then create a culmination of the ideal culture that we think is the best for the partnership. And one of those is actually patient-centric. Today, I had a conversation with one of the partners, and they are in the ultra rare disease, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll be very transparent from a CDMO perspective. Maybe it's not the ideal client.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if this should be edited or not, but again, I'm being very transparent because again, ultra rare, the volume is very low.
Yeah.
Right. But I think a little bit differently, right? Yes, it's ultra rare. The volume is low, and of course, from a CDMO, we do have to make our bottom ends meet. But the value of supplying for the ultra rare patient population, there's a huge value there,
Yeah.
right? And so our conversation was, look, if we enter into partnership, I want you to send me your patient testimony videos.
Really?
Yeah, we need to see it because, one of the culture that we're trying to create here in Lotte is, like I said, the patient-centric. We have, several hundred operators, both in Songdo, South Korea, and Syracuse. And every day they're preparing media, they're cleaning the vessels, and they're doing the environmental monitoring. Very not as glorified, right? And as you're doing that, you forget why you're doing those things, right? And so it's very important for me to accentuate the reason why you're preparing the media is because there is a patient out there that needs this medicine, right? It is absolutely critical, right? And it serves two things. So first, it adds mission and purpose to everyday activity that you do, right? And second, it is, from the client perspective, they see that we value this, and then that really strengthens the partnership, right? So going back to your original question about how I drive our sales team, I mentioned the culture that I want to create for the operational level, but that is the culture that I also want to create for my sales team. I do have international, cohort. I have, team in HQ in South Korea. I do have team across the United States, and we meet pretty much almost daily, right? And I always try to instill the mindset that, okay, it's not just about the dollars, right? Of course, we have our sales KPI, we have our targets to meet, but what value are we creating for the patients together, right? So, when I first joined Lotte, I created this sort of like a mission statement for our business development organization. And it's basically to create value for our patients through finding the right value proposition for our clients in Lotte's services, right? So it all starts with the patients.
So you were saying you've been in a PM role, so you've had your hands on, you've been grafting from the beginning. You're now at a rapidly growing organization. So for your team, do you take a lot of what you've learned in the past from the beginning, because everyone's got to start from somewhere, in the way you would, help them? Because like you said earlier, it's everyone's individual capabilities that succeed to the client's success. It's not one person, it's from the operations side and the sales side. How would you say, from those days of, really building those trusting relationships with those clients have kind of fed into the way you lead the commercial team here at Lotte?
Oh, it's immensely. Yeah. Not only from actual network that we have from those past relationships, but it's those experiences and expertise collectively we're able to create the right solution for the clients, right? Because not all the clients want the same thing, right? And it's all very different, right? Of course, from the sales efficiency perspective, we have our standards and we have our templates and so forth as the foundation, right? But I give that sense of autonomy for our managers as they're engaging with their partners. Okay, be creative, think outside the box. how can we create value based on the foundation? Of course, we have our guardrails.
Yeah.
I get that. How can we think outside the box and create value in this unique situation?
Amazing.
Yeah. So I always try to kind of push in that direction.
So we're coming to the end of the conversation now, Joon. What excites you most about the future and the journey you're going on with Lotte Biologics?
Yeah. So this may sound kind of weird, but I like the fact that some people don't know about us.
Okay.
I'm okay with that
It's exciting.
because we're going to disrupt
I like
the
it.
industry.
Yeah.
Right. Like I mentioned, we have very strong points that will create value for our clients, for the patients. Culturally, we're creating an organization that is going to be healthy and that is going to be sustainable and that is going to be attractive to our clients, because having gone through different organizations, the ease of working and the fitness, aside from the technical, of course, technical and the quality, those are basics. But what really sets apart great organizations and great service providers, or great partners, is how well we work together,
Yeah.
right? So I feel that we are well positioned to create such organizations. So that thought alone really excites me.
Yeah.
Right. And when we have conversations, especially during DCAT, that conversation and seeing the reaction in the clients, partners' faces, that's what really excites me.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's really exciting, the journey you guys are about to go on to becoming one of the top tier global
Yeah, no,
CDMOs.
absolutely. Yeah. And I do want to add, Harry, it's not just about creating an organization. We have to deliver. We have to make these deals, right? And so, like I mentioned, we have a couple of the deals that hopefully by then it's going to be announced. Every time we make those deals, again, that expounds on the excitement that I have, because we're able to reach out to more partners and then also reach out to more patients. And that's what really excites me.
Credibility as well.
That's right. That's right.
And then finally, we'll just finish up with this question, Joon. What excites you about turning up to work every day? What's your why when you turn up to Lotte and lead this commercial team?
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good question. So I have two boys. They're teenagers, so as you can imagine, they don't talk and stuff like that, right? But one thing that I do appreciate is they know that I work for an organization that is creating value for the patients.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, what was it? 6 months ago, my Senka's son at a school, they had some show and tell or whatever, and then he had to kind of describe what I was doing.
Yeah.
And basically, he was describing it as my dad is in business development, whatever. I don't think he understood what that meant, but he did say business development to create medicine for the patients, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
That's what gets me up, every morning, right? Yeah.
And it's a great reason.
Yeah, I want to say the second reason is the people that I work with. I have a great team. I have a great boss. I have a great organization, and that really excites me to get up in the morning and work together, put our heads together, and just create some crazy idea to create a value for our partnership, and that's what really excites me.
Yeah, the right environment is the
right.
creation to success.
That's right. That's right.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Joon. That was a pleasure.
5 years. So 5 years from now, we're gonna be in the same room.
Yeah, that's the plan.